Is Russia making gains in Bakhmut and elsewhere so significant that even the UK Ministry of Defense has started to publicly express concern? But has China made a statement about arming one party or another that will change the course of the war? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. It's April 14th, 2023. This is your daily Ukraine update. Let's get into it. Okay, first, let's take a look at the control map. Biggest two changes. First, in Bilohorivka, you guys can see Russian forces advancing somewhat along this roadway here. It is sort of important terrain to control the main avenue of approach into Bilohorivka, a small town here that Ukraine has held for a while now. So I wouldn't say it's extremely low value terrain. It does have value, and it looks like it's preparation for an assault on Bilohorivka itself. A very doable objective for Russian forces given their current state, given that Ukrainian forces are up against the Tversky Donetsk River here and are probably going to be trying to push Ukrainian forces out of Bilohorivka. When we zoom out, though, and move into Bakhmut, you can see that's the other place there's been significant changes. And you can see that the limited gains that Ukraine had made yesterday have been essentially reversed. Russian forces pushing past this natural defensive line in the rail yard here. Again, not large areas of gain, but I think a sign of growing Russian confidence in their assault detachment tactics, especially when executed by Wagner, who's been using these for some time, where low skill conscripts are supported by higher skill specialists, tankers and BMPs, indirect fire assets, drones, ISR, etc. And they've really become fairly proficient at taking these chunks, small slices of territory. Are they on pace to take Bakhmut entirely with this tactic? They absolutely could, probably at significant cost. But there are, according to the UK Ministry of Defense, there are actually significant evidence that Russia has re-energized its assault, especially because the Russian MOD and Wagner have improved their cooperation. That the artillery fire has been particularly intense in a conflict where artillery fire has been intense the entire time, which is interesting itself because Vingy Prigozhin, the head of Wagner, has actually been very, very public about his complaints that the Russian MOD is failing to provide adequate artillery support for Wagner Group troops. So the fact that not only is there improved coordination, but that Russian MOD artillery units are providing that covering fire for Wagner Group advances is really, really telling that Prigozhin behind the scenes has done some sort of deal making with the Russian MOD in order to make this happen. Of course, Wagner is the main force conducting the ground assaults in Bakhmut, and Russian airborne units are securing the northern and southern flanks of the operations. And they acknowledge that Ukrainian forces are facing significant resupply issues, but they have made orderly withdrawals from locations they've been forced to concede. When we look at the combat map, you can see probably just a reporting issue. There's no listed attacks in the last 24 hours. But as we've seen, again, the continued surge in Bakhmut is sort of indicative itself that there's at least some level of attacks going on. And again, this could be the Russian forces finally learning economy of force, literally by force. As you guys can see, the pressure really ratcheting up on the remaining western districts that Ukraine controls in Bakhmut. But what is good news, and for that, of course, we turn over to ground.news. You can use my link in the description to check them out. They're a great way to vet if a story how much we should trust the stories that we read. And when I saw this, China vows not to sell arms to any party in the Ukraine war, I was surprised. I really was not expecting them to publicly make a statement like this. I thought they would try to use the mystery factor where no one really knows what they're going to do to extract concessions from both sides. But as you can see, the reporting, AP, ABC News, NBC News, VOA, these are all very legitimate outlets that are reporting on this story. And yeah, China has had a fairly high level party functionary come out and say, we are not going to be selling weapons to either side in Ukraine. The foreign minister of all people. So a very, very credible official providing a very definitive statement. And it acknowledges that while China's backed Russia politically, rhetorically, and to a lesser extent economically, this is a huge relief for China. And as we've talked about, or a huge relief for Ukraine. Ukraine has robust backers. It doesn't have to worry. Russia, in contrast, doesn't have a major industrial backer who can provide this sort of the high-level weapons, the high-tech gear. They just don't have it. And they were, I think, really hoping to prove to China that they were, that if they supported Russia, that they were backing a winner. And to do that, Russia had to show that it could do something, that its weapons would make a difference to the outcome, because China providing weapons to Russia would isolate it further from the West. So Russia had to prove to China that it was backing a winner. And they can't take Avdiivka. After months and months and months and months and months, they still haven't taken Bakhmut. And I think China finally said, you know what, Russia, we think you guys are a loser. You're the loser in this war. If we provide you with weapons, you'll just lose more slowly. And we can't afford to take that risk to our international prestige. I think that's what happened. Anyway, of course, guys, if you want access to the uncensored combat videos, the GoPro videos, the drone footage, the kind that YouTube won't let me show you, that is on my site, combatvetnews.com. Combat Vet News, of course, we have all the news stories. We have all my YouTube videos for free. And if you become a member, you get access to the members only content, which includes all the old Patreon archives, plus all the viral videos, the combat videos that I absolutely can't show you on this video, but it gives us such valuable insight into the reality of the conflict. Thank you, as always, to, of course, the site's members, our lieutenant tier members, and even more thanks to our colonel tier members. I appreciate your generosity so very much. Anyway, that's all I had. Links to everything is in the description. I'll see you in the next one.